Hi, my name is Jesse Clary, and today I'm going to show you a horror game that me and 3 other members made in Unreal Engine 4 about 5 or 6 months ago. I was in charge of creating the 3 enemies in our game, modeling them and animating them, as well as creating their AI. I also helped create the first level of our game. I created the second level of our game. I also did a lot of importing of assets, of free models that I found on the internet, and making sure their textures worked and everything like that. I also helped create a lot of the sort of game logic, the game design, the level design, the mechanics and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and play it for you and talk about it as I go. So our game is called Residence 302. A bit of a nod there to Silent Hill 4 for any fans. So just go ahead and click start here. It takes a little bit to load up the level. So here we are on our first level. We sort of put quite a bit of thought into our game design. So you start here, it's very dark, but you notice sort of a flickering light over here and a static light, and you're sort of drawn to it, and you see a door, and you try to open it, and you realize it's locked. And you'll see in the upper left corner it says total keys, so you figure you have to collect some keys. So you turn on your flashlight to help yourself look around a bit. You notice a battery meter in the lower left going down, so you decide to turn that off. But now you're also drawn to a new source of light, the only other source of light in this level, and you find the key. So now you know what keys look like, and you go ahead and pick that up. But most people will be curious where the light source is coming from, and even if you're not, you'll probably be more inclined to turn around, and you'll notice that there's some batteries here that sort of emit a glow, so you know it may be pick-upable. So now you know what batteries look like, and you want to pick that up, and it increases your battery bar by 50. So now you know how much batteries increase your battery count to. And then you get chased by enemies that spawn in. So you go and turn your flashlight, help yourself look around. You're sort of curious what the enemies look like, so you point your flashlight towards them. And you realize that they sort of cower to your flashlight. So now you know that enemies, at least these enemies, will stay away from you if you have your flashlight on. So you go ahead and make a dash to the next level. So I'll go ahead and talk about our sort of philosophy about why you should be able to you shouldn't be able to keep your light on the entire time. So we sort of wanted to balance between exploration and it's sort of a fight or flight response we want to get from the player. So you can either keep your flashlight on, which will help you explore and complete the level, or you can keep it off to conserve battery in order to protect yourself from the monsters. So this is the level I created. It's an apartment. And you'll try to open doors, and you'll notice that the doors that are locked are a bit of a lighter brown, because when you finally find a door that is able to be opened, it's darker. And you come in here and there's an enemy waiting for you. There's another enemy, we call that one the Resident. The first one is called the Crawler, and you're able to see batteries in the dark. That way you're not completely lost if your flashlight runs out of batteries. So you go on and move through these levels. Each level of the apartment complex gets weirder and weirder. This is sort of standard, but later levels, like the next level, has like a room that has furniture on the ceiling. I only created this level as well as the top one and the last level because we needed one towards the end, but my other members also created levels themselves. So, like the third level, the entire floor is flooded, so it just kind of gets weirder, and the last level is sort of a mad dash to the end. We each furnish these individual rooms, and yeah, so there is an ending to the game. You can get to the end and escape and play the game again, and so that's the game we created. It's very survival horror, and oh yeah, one last thing, when you get to the end, there's a door that you open with the key, but there's a very specific light over the door. It's the only light in the game that looks like that, and it kind of looks the same as the rooftop one, so players are sort of naturally drawn to it. And once you see that, you'll know that you're at the end of the level. So I'm going to exit out of that and show you exactly what I did and how the steps I took to do it. So like I said, I was in charge of modeling the enemies. So what I did is I modeled all my enemies in Mudbox, and I textured them here too. And what I did was I took a very high poly model and textured it that way, then brought it down to a very low poly model and mapped the high poly texture to the low poly model. That way Unreal Engine 4 didn't have to render as many polys. Pretty much took the normals from that high poly model, and yeah. And then after that, I took the model, after all texturing up and getting it the way I want to a good T-pose, I took it into 3ds Max and I animated it. I'm showing the Resident one because I think it's kind of impressive that I was able to map each individual finger. So here's its idle animation, kind of showing off the finger movement there. But this is pretty simple. I used a biped, which is just a regular skeletal structure that already has a hierarchy built in for humanoid models, and mapped the parts of the model, the polygons, to the bones, or the technical term, the joints, and simply animated it. Then I exported the skeletal structure, the mesh, and the animation. I exported it all and then imported it to Unreal Engine 4 and created this. I think Unreal Engine 4 just calls this a skeleton, but it pretty much houses the skeletal structure, the mesh belonging to it, and each of its individual animations. So here you can see all the animations I created, as well as something called a blend space. And what a blend space is it's basically a way to interpolate smoothly between multiple animations. So here it sort of goes between idle, walking, and full-on sprint. And this is based off of the blueprints or model speed. So as it's standing still, it's just in its idle pose, and as it slowly ramps up in speed, sort of coming into a full sprint, it interpolates between that. So it's a nice smooth way of going between animations instead of making them sort of snap between animations. This just sort of added a more realism to the game and more immersive. So that's the Resident. We have this floating head, we call it Globby, and then we have a crawler. So I made each of these enemies, and textured each of them, and animated them. Here's some texture too. You can see here's a regular diffuse texture, the normal map, the specular map, and the glossy map, which is something new I learned while making UE4. It kind of gives a wet look rather than a sort of sparkling look. So I also helped with the flashlight. So give me a sec to find that. So here it is. The logic for the flashlight is pretty complicated in terms of the values and stuff we change in order to detect whether the monster is sort of in the flashlight radius. Actually, that part's not very complicated. This is mostly consisting of light intensity and diffusal of the light and stuff. Here's the flashlight itself, with 3 different light sources. A sort of forgot what this is called. A point. Well, these 2 are point lights, and this is more of a source light. So that's the flashlight. But basically, the AI kind of works like this. It runs towards you if you're within its nav mesh, and all it does is follow you and go around obstacles and stuff. If it's a certain distance away from you and you're looking at it with your flashlight turned on, it will move away from you until it reaches that certain distance. It kind of keeps its distance from you. If the flashlight is off, then it'll move towards you, obviously. If it's within the range where your flashlight is on, then it'll keep moving back until it's far enough away that it feels like it's safe, quote unquote. All the enemies have a hitbox around it that does damage to the player. If you're within the monster's hitbox, it will do damage to you. The Resident is a sort of medium speed enemy that does low damage. The Crawler is fast and does high damage but attacks slowly, and then Globby here does damage over time and emits a sort of static noise over time, and which gets louder as it gets near you. I actually quite enjoy the Globby blueprint because of the noise emitter that I gave it. In any case, that's all I've done for this project. I hope you enjoyed what I've showed you, and hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.